So I saw Godzilla, or as Ken Wanatabe's character said, he's Godzilla. Hi everyone, I'm Brandon Prosek and this is the So I Saw show, doing my next movie review of the latest summer blockbuster, Godzilla. I'll admit, about a year ago, if you asked me if I was going to see this movie, I'd probably be like, won't waste my money on it. But after seeing trailers keep coming out, the teasers, like I just kept getting more and more excited about it. And before I knew it, I was counting down like the last week or so because I was just so jacked up. Before I get into it, let me just say spoiler, spoiler, spoiler. If you really don't want to know any plot details, any twists or anything in this review, just turn it off right now so I don't spoil anything for you. Go see the movie, then come back and see this. So, we'll do what I usually like to do. Start off with the bads, then we'll talk about the goods. First bad thing, and it really hurts me to say this, but because we've seen him in so many of the trailers, Bryan Cranston, it looks like he was kind of going to be a main character or the main character, but really he's only in, I want to say the first half hour, maybe 45 minutes. I feel like we were kind of cheated a little bit because hell, even in one of the first few scenes he does this amazingly emotional scene, and obviously that's not a bad because he was so good, but it was bad because we got robbed of seeing him for like another hour in this movie. One of the other bad things, and one of my other favorite reviewers, Jeremy Johns, actually said this. When we finally get to see Godzilla for pretty much the first time, like when you have the big reveal, you know, you finally see his face, he does the, you know, the epic, you know, historic roar that he does, and then all of a sudden, boom, cuts to another scene, and, you know, everyone's like, oh man, that was crazy, look at the wreckage. It's like, well, why didn't we see him do the wreckage? Such a weird bait and switch. You tease us for almost an hour of the film, finally show him, and then you cut away. As you guys probably figured, there were other monsters in these movies, which they called the mutas, and the thing about these guys is, you know, the effects were good on them, you know, they were fine. It's just there was so much of them compared to Godzilla almost in the beginning throughout the movie. It kind of felt like a muta movie, and then at the end turned into a muta versus Godzilla thing. I don't know, it just, I wanted more Godzilla and a little bit less of these muta guys. We paid to see Godzilla. And a couple other bad things, and these are kind of nitpicky things, and one thing was, you know, we had Ken Wanatabe, I hope I'm saying his name right, and you know, he's in this movie, and he just, I don't know, he felt like you could have put any other actor in that role and it would have been just fine because his role really wasn't that major. I don't know what it was, but when he's talking about Godzilla for the first time, like the whole film's like acknowledging it, and he's talking about him. They do this epic, you know, slow motion, almost in a way, you know, the camera turns on, he's just like, he's Godzilla. Okay, tone it down, like you're just talking about him for a second. You don't need like that epic, you know, like push in, like soap opera. It's just, he's Godzilla. One other little nitpicky thing, there's this one part where Aaron Tyler Johnson's character is with some other soldiers and they're kind of getting this missile, this nuke thing, they're transporting it from one place to another, and this one soldier's on the radio and he's trying to call to the other soldiers if the coast is clear, if they can, you know, move the missile down this railroad track. And he's like, yeah, is anyone there? And you hear in the background people are like, oh God, holy shit, oh my God. You know, like they're screaming for their life. And he's just like, can we come or what? Let's jump over to the good side of things. First good thing, and this was something I touched on in the bad side of things, was Bryan Cranston. Like, man, after what he did with Breaking Bad, he's never going to have issues finding work for the rest of his career. Even though he was not in this film very long, he did do a good job. There was this scene in the opening, I want to say 15 minutes. Wow, it was powerful. That's why it was such a bad thing, is I just wish we had more of him in this film. Anyway, some other good stuff I liked. I did touch about this in the bad thing, is like I was not a fan about how they kind of strung along us finally getting to see full-on Godzilla. But when we did, wow, it was awesome. The last battle with him and the mutas or whatever they were called, like, wow, that was awesome. And there was many times where people in the crowd were, you know, were clapping. You know, we loved seeing Godzilla just kick ass. Final battle was just so fun to watch. It was just a time where you could just sit there and enjoy. It was just done very well, and obviously it's not, you know, so real because, you know, Godzilla's not real, but it was done believably, so that if this were to actually happen in some capacity, like that's what it would look like. The effects were just on. I did write an article from moviepilot.com and I posted it in the info section right below. Link to it if you want to go and check it out. Is my big question with Godzilla, and this isn't necessarily a good or bad thing, is I'm curious, where does the franchise go after this? Is Godzilla done right? And like, part of me wants to just be like, all right, let's let it be. But you know what's going to happen. If it does well in the box office, you know, the studios are just going to be amped and be like, no, we need to crank this out in like 2 more years. I really like this movie. I wouldn't quite give it my highest rating. I wouldn't say it was tremendous that I would buy it immediately the day it came out on DVD. But I will give it my second highest rating, which I'll have to say I was glad I saw it in theaters, and I'll probably buy it on DVD one day, but no rush. And I really think we need some sort of Pacific Rim Godzilla crossover down the road. Wouldn't that be kick-ass? No pun intended, because Aaron Tyler Johnson played Kick-Ass. You know what? Fuck it. Pun intended. I want to check me out on Twitter. My Twitter's right there. If you want to hit the big red button right below that, you can click there and you can subscribe to my YouTube page. But I'll put a link in the info section. You can also check out some of my other articles and other reviews also on moviepilot.com. Next week, I'm going to be doing X-Men Days of Future Past, so stay tuned for that next week. Alright guys, thanks for watching. I'm Brandon Prosek, and now you saw the So I Saw show. It's Godzilla.